Collecting and interpreting data on the National Forest has been a central job of the Forest Service since its beginning. Demands for natural resource information about the National Forest are increasing, and due to the decentralized nature of our agency, we have not focused on collecting, storing, or managing our natural resource data consistently. Recent estimates indicate that the Forest Service spends 25 to 50% of its budget each year to collect, store, and manage natural resource data throughout all levels of the agency.
I've seen a variety of demands at the local level that have escalated into a situation where we need more consistency from a national standpoint.
Every year there are new issues that arise in the planning arena. There's new scientific knowledge being developed, and our publics are getting smarter too. They're asking a lot of questions.
We need to be able to standardize what the public would expect at the National Forest level and provide that information in a consistent manner to the public.
They expect that we know what's going on in the landscape. They expect that we know what species inhabit the national forests. Gone are the days of looking to professionals in the agency to do an analysis and the American public to blindly say, oh, okay. They really not only want to see the results, they want to see the raw data. They want to maybe redo their own analysis. That's a huge change. We've spent millions of dollars trying to take disparate databases, people's paper files, people's different formats, putting them together into one cohesive GIS layer and data layer. No longer will that be the case. We're going to do that for them right up front.
The Forest Service has launched a significant undertaking, setting agency-wide corporate standards for collection, storage, use, and management of natural resource information about the national forest and grasslands. We call this effort the Natural Resource Information System, or Nris. Nris is a set of databases and computer applications designed by field-level employees to meet their needs for basic resource information while addressing broader scale needs at the forest, region, and ecoregion levels. Nris databases contain basic natural resource data in standard formats built to run within the Forest Service computing environment. This system provides employees, our partners, and the public with access to essential natural resource data needed to support the management decisions that form the core business of the Forest Service. Nris data are corporate, which means they meet national and regional standards for how data is collected, entered, stored, retrieved, analyzed, and reported throughout the agency.
You can put a lot of information in the same place, and it's not a corporate database, it's a lot of information in the same place. But not until you start collecting it in the same way, in the same repeatable way, can you really start to draw inference from it.
We did a survey in Region 3, and we visited each of our forests and discovered that on the average, every acre of ground had been visited by 14 different survey crews that recorded something about vegetation. The timber people were there, the range people were there, the wildlife people were there, and others were there. And so what we discovered was each of these groups had their own database management system for tracking this data. So when we asked a question like, how many acres of old growth are there, we'd get 14 different answers. And now with the Natural Resource Information System, we'll have standard inventory protocols, standard data, and a standard application for housing that data, so when we ask a question, we can get one answer.
The Natural Resource Information System is organized around ecological themes, including vegetation, soil, air, water, and animal life. It also includes computer-based tools and analytical applications for users. Nris includes point and plot vegetation data from field surveys such as stand exams, inventories, and regeneration surveys. It stores data on trees, surface cover, understory vegetation, and down woody material. Also included are core terrestrial ecology data on soils, geology, geomorphology, ecological classification, and potential natural vegetation. Air resource managers can use Nris to assess the effects of air pollution on visibility and natural resources, including water quality, plants, and animals. Nris also includes data that describes aquatic habitats and stream morphology, watershed characteristics, water rights and uses, and aquatic organisms. Social, economic, and demographic data generally collected by other federal and state agencies and organizations is available to Nris users to aid in planning and decision-making. Nris includes information about terrestrial wildlife on national forests that is linked to other federal, state, and private organization wildlife species databases. Additionally, the Natural Resource Information System provides software applications to analyze and present information from the Nris databases at multiple geographic scales, including maps, graphs, images, and related data about ecosystems, uses and rights, and watershed improvement projects.
The real power of this comes when you have a couple of specialists, particularly specialists in diverse fields, sit down around a computer screen and start interacting the data.
And as we look at cumulative effects, it's really going to help us. We take data plots out there where we look at Krong bulk density and we're looking at fuel loading. And that goes into the database, and we're going to be able to predict what the chance of a catastrophic fire is, or if the stands are susceptible to crown fire and how they'll react to it. You couple that with the veg layer that's also part of Nris, and you can see how they interrelate together. You overlay the wildlife information on top of that in terms of Mexican spotted owl habitat or goshawk habitat, and you're going to kind of see how you can determine effects with all these three layers of information. Nris is going to help us be able to do that.
The Natural Resource Information System supports the line officer's decision at whatever scale is appropriate for the given situation. It does not remove decisions from those who know the ground in question the best. It allows them to make better decisions more quickly and more efficiently.
It doesn't make the decision for you. It doesn't force you to make certain decisions or do certain data collection. It just provides the framework if you have a business need that is covered by that particular protocol.
It's very valuable for us in the Forest Service to understand that even though we have lots of local decisions, that those decisions are strengthened when we use nationally standard information to drive those decisions.
Nris readily adapts to future technological, policy, and staff changes because it is an integrated and coordinated system.
If I move to another district, another location, it's going to be the same database. I'll be able to collect data the same way. I'll be able to use data the same way. And so it won't be information that you lose.
If you haven't started to implement Nris in your area, it's time to get started. The implementation process requires an investment of some time, but that investment will provide much needed returns once you start using the system.
To me, it's almost like we're remodeling the information house of the Forest Service right now. And in a remodeling project, it gets messy. We've got to live and work in the house, in the information house that we've got in the Forest Service. And that means getting out projects.
I think the biggest challenges to implementing Nris successfully is cultural barriers that we have within the agency. There's a lot of pride in homegrown systems and homegrown solutions. In a lot of cases, we have systems that have worked for individual forests or regions, and what we need to do now is take this corporate system and make sure we're meeting the needs of all of the forests and all of the regions, and at the same time meeting the broader scale needs of the agency in general, so that we have data that's comparable and consistent across the landscape.
Making our resource information accessible to everyone will help us do more with less as we face growing challenges with limited resources. Recently, Nris data and tools were used on a salvage recovery project for the Rodeo Chedeschi fire in Region 3. The Rodeo Chedeschi fire burned almost 500,000 acres on the White Mountain Apache Reservation and on National Forest System land, including over 2,300 timber stands totaling more than 173,000 acres of National Forest System land. The magnitude and severity of the fire, combined with the emerging infestation risk, required getting salvage recovery projects on the ground within 18 months. However, court-mandated analysis requirements required identifying the vegetation conditions on the ground before the fire, after the fire, and after the salvage recovery efforts. An ID team was assembled to conduct the analysis and address these issues.
I was one of the biologists on the team. We needed to do some habitat modeling. And to do that habitat modeling, we need a vegetative structural stage and a habitat type for the stands. We realized, like everybody, that we didn't have stand data for all the stands out there.
We had over 58,000 acres where we did not have any stand examination data.
The Forest Service faced a daunting task. There wasn't time to send stand exam crews out to the woods for 2 or 3 months to determine the conditions of the 858 stands before the fire. This would have prevented the job from being completed on time.
Normally we would have time where we could send out folks and do stand exam. Because this is a salvage operation, we didn't have that time. Or that money, really. You know, we were told the timber isn't going to be any good within a year, so we need to get this thing done.
Of course, collecting pre-fire data isn't an option after the fire. There were a couple of possibilities, and on smaller analyses, we'll typically just average the data we have and expand it over the area that doesn't have data and call it good enough. But for this one, we felt surely, merely because of the size of the thing, that we ought to look at some other options.
I know what it was going to come to was I was going to have to sit down with photos, and I would have to probably do some kind of interpretation. And I really didn't have the time to do that. There was no one available to do it.
Instead, with the help from Nris, the ID team used Nris data and applications to automatically impute the values of the 858 timber stands containing valid Nris vegetation data in combination with satellite imagery and other related GIS data.
Some on the team had heard of this most similar neighbor analysis, or the Informs tool of Nris, and suggested we look into that. And we did, and they sent a team of 2 people to us. They spent a pay period, crunched all that data for us, and were able to fill in those data gaps with 2 weeks of their time.
And we were able to determine habitat quality for our management indicator species using the MSN analysis and HQI model.
And so it just enabled us to use a complete data set instead of a partial data set to do our analysis.
We've been real happy. It really facilitated our habitat modeling, and quickly.
The Natural Resource Information System is the foundation of this work and required only 2 people working 2 weeks to get the job done. Having consistent data stored in a standard data structure allows the
database, and the GIS is all similar. It is important to have common protocols between units so that when you get fires or any analysis that crosses boundaries, you've got this common denominator to work from.
For more information about the Natural Resource Information System, visit the Nris website or contact your regional information coordinators or your Forest Nris coordinator.